Are you a radical? Are you radicalized enough? Are you radicalized? Are you just like me? Who is the radical? Who's at fault? It's all your fault. Because you can't see. You won't do it. Because you're radicalized. We need to de-radicalize you. Good morning, everybody. Marcus Conte reporting. How are you, man? That's de-radicalization. Got an interesting show for you today, I think. And so yeah, man. So we're over here on Marcus Conte 2 because whenever there's a big event, it seems, and not a conspiracy theory, but whenever there's a kind of a shooting or some sort of radicalization in our communities, geared at certain people, only certain people, half of the, when the radicalization gets pointed at half of the population, the politicians quickly assemble and formulate the blame, all of it, on the other side, right? So essentially, if you have radical left in charge and something radical happens that favors their political opinion, then they're in the news and actively talking about it and cutting off discourse, right? See, the point I'm going to try to make today, we're going to watch Governor Hochul in New York give a speech about her perception of radicalization online, right? Now, what the problem is that opinion like mine, where I'm not radicalizing anybody, what I'm simply doing is pointing out the facts that the radicalization that we see in people, for example, the latest shooting, where was it, in Maryland? No, it was in Colorado at the 5 dead, 18 injured in the Colorado LGBTQ nightclub, mass shooting. Horrible event, terrible event. Right? But it's, where does the radicalization come from? Is it, the people that are going to talk about this, the people in power, for example, in New York, are going to say it comes from far right-wing extremism. Right? And then people like me who are not far right or far left are punished. And it's a mechanism kicks in to shut people down. Right? That's what censorship is. Now, the problem is that the people doing it, the politicians doing it, are either doing it intentionally or they have no idea that they're starting it. By you taking 100% of the people and slicing them down the middle and saying, these 50 people hate you, and they're the cause of the problem, and they, over there, based on our observation, based on how we define them and classify them, those are the fucking problem. Right? Now, if you point that out to a politician, they'll say, "No, you're an anti-Semite. You don't care about black and brown and yellow people." No, that's not true. I care about all people equally, and I want to prevent all people from people like you, Governor Hochul, for radicalizing people. And then that's what you're hearing on social media. It doesn't work the other way around. You're the representative. You're broadcasting the policies in our country. For example, even Hatchell herself will say in this interview, she talks about the radicalization. Excuse me, I think my mic is too hot. The radicalization of I forgot what I was going to say. The radicalization. It'll come back to me. But she was talking about the radicalization. All right, I lost my train of thought. But anyway, that's the subject today. We're going to look at the thing, the broadcast coming out of New York, telling people and formulating a plan to de-radicalize people. Right, the radicals themselves, arguably, have a plan to de-radicalize you, basically, for not agreeing with them. That's radicalization. The solution, the workaround, is stop radicalizing people at all. To put everybody in the middle. God damn it. So I hope that makes sense. So good morning, everybody. Weevil Girls here. Again, if the live stream starts going crazy, there's nothing I can do about it. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. It's a wonderful holiday. It's a time where, if you're watching from abroad, what is Thanksgiving? Thanksgiving is a time where the settlers and/or the conquerors, the imperialists, came over to America. They broke bread with the Indians. That's the story we learned as in elementary school. That's the story that history tells us about the people who came over from England, Holland, Spain, France, wherever they came from, and settled here in this great country, created this great country in their own image, of course. And at some point, they broke bread with the Indians who were here first, and we know how that transpires. We know that the colonialists eventually kicked the Indians out and all that. But nonetheless, it is a representation of our willingness to at least reach over even to the conquered. Right? That's what Thanksgiving is. Right? It's neither racist nor authoritarian or imperialist or passive or religious. It's a mere event in history that happened. Right? Now, were they celebrating Thanksgiving at the time when they realized that they were breaking bread with the Indians? The colonialists were breaking bread with the Indians? No. It happened later. Right? It happened probably 100 or 200 years later. Thanksgiving was born. This giving thanks, right? So anyway, as I said, that's what we're going to talk about. I think the article sounds fascinating. Not the article, but the interview is fascinating when you listen to it, and we'll go through it piece by piece. Thank you very much, everybody in the house. Weevil Girls here. Jim Gerard is here. Thank you for following us over to Marcus Conte 2. If you're joining us late, it's because Marcus Conte 1 was banned for, again, the same old nonsense, cyberbullying, cyber hacking. These are all, whenever an event, the strategy is whenever there's an event, some sort of event happens, people like me get censored for things that were said 2 and 3 years ago. Right? And those videos are still up. So that becomes the grounds to shut you up. So my main channel has one more strike and then it's gone again. For what? I have not changed. I have not done anything different in the last year. Nothing that I've done has been deemed as radicalization. But that's the tone we're in. The people controlling the narrative are targeting people like me who, I don't know, why am I that influential? Am I somebody who, just for asking people to stop and think about both sides of what's happening, that's radical? That's become to sit in the middle of an argument and try to point out the pros and cons in each part of the argument is defined as radical. For example, whatever was in the mind of this guy who shot and killed all of these people, right, in a gay bar, right, is it's not far right wing white supremacy doing it. It's something else. It's the same thing that causes a guy like this over here in Maryland, right? This is a story too. DNA evidence helps indict Maryland brothers in brutal 1988 rape of Virginia woman. Now that is a black man, right? But you're not going to hear Hatchell talk about any of that. She's going to say half the country is white supremacists and they're the cause of everything, and it's factually incorrect. It's insulting to the people that you're saying it. Remember, Governor Hatchell told New Yorkers that if you're a Republican, get out, go to Florida. She vilified and radicalized. That's what you're doing. When you attack one side from a position of power, you radicalize the minority or the majority on the other side. You're systematically casting a black cloud on half of the country for frivolous reasons. Do you really think that half of New York City is radicalized against blacks in fucking Queens and Brooklyn and the Bronx? That's ridiculous. It's not true. And it doesn't lead to this. What leads to this is go back to 2016 when you stole the election, for example, the primary. And a lot of young people realized that we live in a country where people of power will steamroll us regardless of our opinion. That's what causes people to become radical. That was the birth of Antifa in 2016. Not the original birth of Antifa. Antifa is an idea that comes from Germany, anti-fascist movement. I get that. I understand that. But in this country, the average 22-year-old or 18-year-old or 27-year-old that supported Bernie Sanders and got robbed, outright robbed openly in 2016, is never coming back, has gotten the taste in their mouth that this country is deeply, deeply radicalized, and it ain't by the people. It's the people doing it, causing the radicalization. So that's my my aim here, to see if I can make sense of that. So good morning, everybody, and hopefully we'll still be up. It looks like we're rolling. Well, no market today, no stock market today. It's Thanksgiving, and yesterday I got to do a little show and tell. Where was I yesterday? I took a drive, and I went to the. Every once in a while, I like to see the ocean. I had something to do, but I wanted to go down and see the ocean while I was doing that in New York City, and this is what I was sitting doing. This is my. I was filming the sunset. Now this is what life is all about right here. Right? You're sitting on the beach. This is Far Rockaway, New York, Queens. And I was just sitting there watching the sun go down. Now, is that a radical idea? Is this a radical idea? To just watch the sun go down? This is your radical right here. This is the guy that gets censored from YouTube because he's such a radical. I'm so radicalized, right? There's another view of it. It's really breathtaking, you know what I mean? It just dropped. I caught it right at the right minute, clear sky. And pow, the sun goes down for a while, and then tomorrow it'll come back, right? Or it didn't really leave. It's just there, so that's Marcus Conte reporting on the sunset. Beautiful. Thank you, Weeble Girl. It is beautiful. It's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful thing. So we're still live. We're not right now on YouTube. Yesterday's or 2 days ago show, Embryo Baby. That was interesting too. You should watch that. Watch the rerun. I know a lot of people got chopped, so the live stream got chopped. It looks like it's rolling now, but. If you get a chance, I thought there was some good dialogue in the Embryo Baby clip. So again, we're live every morning. Hopefully this will continue. I guess the big event is over. They struck the channel. They shut me down for 2 weeks on that main channel. Congratulations. Congratulations to the radicals that are radicalizing the radicalization of radical America. It ain't me doing it. Certainly not me. I'm just reporting on it. That's what I do. I talk about it. Yeah, you know, you hit me, and then I talk about how you hit me. That's all I'm doing. I'm not hitting anybody. I'm not lashing out at anybody. I'm just pointing out the facts. I believe, in my mind. In my mind, that's what I'm doing. So again. Oh, this is interesting. So thank you everybody for joining me. Let's start here. You remember the woman? You remember this woman? What's her name? The Theranos lady, who created a whole $9 billion enterprise around a fake cure. She said that if you want to go in and get blood work from a doctor, well, you got to give a lot of blood, and it's expensive, and it takes a lot of time. You could do it on your own for $3.99. And she created this product that did a blood evaluation on your own. It was clinically and scientifically impossible, based on what we knew, to do something like that. But she promoted it and made billions and billions of dollars. Right? And for that crime, she, 38 years old, Holmes, was sentenced to 11 years in prison. Bang, zoom. So if you want to know what happened to Elizabeth Holmes, the creator of Theranos, she's going to be sitting in jail for a long fucking time, man. She looks like she's pregnant. That ain't going to get you out of it, bitch. You'll have your baby in jail, and the baby will get swept away somewhere. All right? So she's going bye-bye. She should run. I mean, if you're out, right, and you got that bracelet on or whatever, look, it's your life, man. They're going to throw you into a cage for 11 years for doing what, businesses do all the time. Do you think that fucking Pfizer, Moderna, and Johnson & Johnson know anything more about intoxicants, trying to relieve people's, ailments than Theranos lady does? No, they're the same. They are the same. But it wasn't approved. Her theory on what she was looking at wasn't approved by the more important people, and for that she serves 11 years in fucking prison. So bye-bye. Very, fascinating story. So I don't want to talk about this guy. He's a jackoff. So anyway, at least 5 dead, 18 injured in Colorado, LGBTQ nightclub mass shooting. Terrible event, right? 5 people were shot dead, 18 others injured during a mass shooting inside an LGBTQ nightclub known as Club Q in Colorado. Colorado, okay. One suspect was in custody and being treated at a local hospital as of early Sunday. Now, what's also interesting is that you're in a nightclub, and what goes on in nightclubs? A lot of alcohol, right? A lot of intoxicants to elevate one's sanity or whatever state of being. That's what people are doing at night in these nightclubs. You should think about that as well. The troublesomeness of that type of environment. First of all, why are gay people still going to... old people like to go to clubs and nightclubs, young people. Anyone over 35 considers the nightlife because they're busy in the day, so they go to the nightclub. I get that part of it. But there's never a mention of the fact that people are out late at night because they probably don't have time in the daytime to live their lives. So, but there's no mention of that. One suspect in custody. Okay. All right. So massive shooting, terrible event. Club Q is devastated by the senseless attack. All right. These events are happening all over America. They do seem to be picking up a little bit. But what's behind it, right? Is this guy that did this act a right-wing supremacist who hates gays? Or is it something different? Is it maybe one psycho person who probably is gay and refuses to accept his own identity? which is often the problem. And you couple that with massive amounts of alcohol and a gun. And by 1:48 in the morning, after 11 beers and talking to a bunch of gay people who he identifies with but refuses to admit to himself that man right over there, I'm a man, and I think that man over there is sexy, right? He can't, maybe he can't admit it to himself, and therefore he decides to shoot. See, that's not a radical idea that I just proposed. That's yielding to try to understand why somebody does that. It's not to you don't vilify them. Yeah. You catch him. If he's still shooting, you kill him. You catch him, you put him in a cage, whatever. You take him out of the population. But nothing stops it from happening again. It doesn't happen in a bubble. Right. So let's look at some images, right? No dead bodies, because we live in a very clean media. We never show the dead bodies. We never show the carnage because it hurts people so badly to see the actual evidence of the case. So anyway, what else? She was not a big Chris Milk points out she was not a big pharmaceutical provider. Off with head. Maybe she was a victim of the pharmaceuticals. I don't know who you're talking about, but anyway. So let's dive in to this. As I said, the markets are closed today. I want to. It's about the first 20 minutes of Governor Hochul's speech announcing actions to prevent hate crimes and protect New Yorkers. Now, having told you what I told you and what I said for the first 22 minutes, let's try to make sense of what the governor is talking about. We're going to give her moment. We want to hear what Hochul says, regardless of our political opinion, our political left, right, middle, anything. Let's listen to what she's saying and try to make sense of it, and maybe try to get to the end product, which is nonviolence, non-aggression. Let's listen.
Breaking to know that there are acts of violence and hatred that exist throughout our country and within our own city and our own state. Once again, we're having to respond to the presence of hate. And on Saturday morning, with assistance from our state police social media monitoring investigators, and I want to thank them. This is a group of individuals that I felt, particularly in the aftermath of the Buffalo shooting, that there's information that's being telegraphed on social media. The data points are out there. People are willing to put forth publicly what their intent is.
Okay, so right there, right? Here's Hatchell broadcasting that it's evolving. This kind of hate is evolving via social media. You mean like when people talk, when people have a conversation, you see that as radicalization, as the origins of the event that we're talking about? I didn't just say that. Hatchell said that. She said, listen again. Well, I'm not going to listen again because she says it 2 and 3 and 5 times. But you see my point. Hatchell is calling people on social media radicals, but only some people, not all people, as you'll find out. Let's listen.
And we need, as a government, to be conducting robust...
Thank you, Chris Milk. Her name is pronounced Hochul or Hochul. Governor Hochul. I don't know why I see Hatchell.
continuous surveillance. And so I took the steps to enhance our operations, adding staff, adding resources. Intent is.
Wow.
And we need, as a government, to be conducting robust, continuous surveillance.
So as a government, robust, continuous surveillance. Of who? Of you. Not them. Not their colleagues. Right? Not their own policy that are creating the radicalization. They're talking about you. Right? And when they do that, they amplify their own radical opinions. right? Because they are radical opinions. They're radical because they're not shared by the majority. They're not shared by people. You're forcing them to accept your opinion, right? Now, I'm not doing that. I'm simply pointing it out. I'm pointing out that Hochul is a radical by the definitions of the words.
And so I took the steps to enhance our operations, adding staff, adding resources, which means money, to making sure that we are doing exactly that. And I think the early warning system that was able to work with our federal partners and get to NYPD and the brave individuals that
What early warning symptoms? What early warning symptoms are you looking at, Governor Hochul? Early warning systems. You mean you have a list of people that you consider radical because they don't share your opinion. And so your mechanism is to pressure big social media, big technology to shut people up. Now, is it coincidence that Marcus Conte 1 got banned yesterday when this event was happening? Is it coincidental that Marcus Conte 1 got banned a few weeks ago for some other event that happened, right? That was happening as we were speaking. No, it's not coincidental. It is happening, right? That is what's happening, right? I wasn't banned for any one thing I said about any of these subjects. I am banned because I don't share their radical opinion, right? And I don't agree with the radical opinion on the other side. I don't agree with any of it. What I agree with is let the discourse unfold. Let people discuss openly, honestly, without any restraints, right? And then you begin to see who is the fucking nut, right? Who is crazy, right? That's how you do it.
the transit police, the subway police, for all they did for when the MTA at Penn Station were able to help apprehend two armed men who had plans to mount an attack against Jewish people, and we knew that because of the social media posts they had.
But what about the continuous stream of homeless, radicalized blacks who are roaming the subways, pushing people in front of subways? Hatchell's not going to talk about that. She's not going to talk about the radicalization of low-income people of color in the intercities. Totally radicalized. Totally out of fucking control, with full of hate and vitriol to anybody who is different than they are. That's Hatchell doing it. That's her doing it, broadcasting it.
And then on Saturday night, Colorado Springs, hours before the Transgender Day of Remembrance, I'm sure that's not a coincidence, an armed individual with, again, a heart overflowing with hatred and a gun in his hand took the lives of 5 people and injured 25 others at Club Q, the only LGBTQ gathering place and nightclub in this particular city.
So we agree with that. We totally agree with the governor there that the act of violence is unacceptable, is appalling and a problem that we all share. We all understand that the problem exists. But who's doing the radicalization? How is the radicalization continuing? It's not by people being allowed to speak. It's you causing people not being allowed to speak. And because they can't speak, they go to the nightclub with a gun and they say, oh yeah? You're not going to listen? Bang. Boom. Ba ba ba. Right? Or you steal an election from the youth of America, pull it right out from under their feet when everybody in plain view sees that they're winning and that this is the direction that the youth, 30% of the country, wants to take it, a.k.a. Bernie Sanders, Hillary Clinton. And you shit on them and piss on them. And you create the radicals. You created the George Floyd riots, the smashing, the burning, the roaming the streets, accusing everybody in America of white supremacy. You're doing that, Hotchel. You're doing that. You're doing it by shutting people up. That's what you're doing.
These two incidences are painful reminders that there is a rising tide of hate in our country. And you don't have to go back that far in history. We're not saying you have to go back to the 50s or 60s to talk about what hate looks like. Go back to Charleston in 2015. Go back to Tree of Life in 2018. El Paso in 2019. And my hometown.
So she selectively picks out all of the far-right attacks, right? But neglects just in the last month, a black guy walks in and shoots up all his employees, right? She doesn't talk about that radicalization. What's the motive there? If it's, are you filtering radicalized blacks online? No. You're when someone comes out, a black person comes out and says that all of America is racist, or at least the parts that I don't live in, right? Not only are you wrong, but you're promoting that idea, that radical idea, that when you come to a place where you don't see a lot of black faces, that somehow those people don't like you. That's not what it is. It's community. It's literally hundreds of years of people living and being with each other. It doesn't mean they hate you. It doesn't mean that they want to see you shut down. You're radicalizing your people against them. And then when they're not allowed to speak, they're coming back at you. And vice versa. When the far right does it and tries to suppress George Floyd, protesters, that's fine. Go ahead, protest. Go outside, carry on, and great. But when you start burning other people's property, when you start vandalizing and looting and stealing and making the city a lawless place, that is not right-wing, far-right extremism. That is your radicalization. You promoting it. You're encouraging these people. Right. So there you go, man. Is that clear in the chat, or am I way out there? I don't even know. It sounds like that's what I'm hearing. That's what I hear when I watch this.
Town of Buffalo just 6 months ago, where white supremacists destroyed the lives of 10 of my neighbors. But almost as insidious, many communities in New York, particularly here in New York City, are experiencing the day-to-day instances of harassment and abuse, all because of their diversity. A brick thrown at the window of an LGBTQ bar.
What about Governor Hatchell? I hate to interrupt, but what about when a reporter goes to a hospital to cover COVID-19, and by two black security guards told, because he's white, to get your white privilege out of here. Get your white privilege out of here. You got white privilege. What about that? Isn't that a hate crime? Isn't that a act of discrimination? Hotchell's not going to talk about that. Hochul is not going to talk about that because that is not her base. This is politics, right? We're seeing politics in
Manhattan this weekend. Members of the Sikh community attacked in Queens. The rise in Asian hate across the city and state over the last couple of years, where we have white supremacists, right-wing extremists, and domestic terrorists trying to stoke fear in the hearts of New Yorkers. They want
Where are right-wing supremacists, extremists trying to stoke fear in the heart of New Yorkers? Where? When a black man pushes a fucking 80-year-old Asian lady, and she falls on her face, and the brother steals her wallet? That's far right-wing extremists? That's 80% of what's happening in the cities. Where's the right wing? What are you talking about? You're talking about people in drive-by parts of upstate New York that have a Trump sign on their lawn because they want to make America great again? Are you fucking kidding me? What is far right? The people who showed up on January 6th to voice their opinions of election fraud in this country, to get rid of the radicals that are there. to just voice the goddamn opinion, those are radicals? How many people did they kill on January 6th? Did those radicals kill? 0. How many people did the police kill on that day? Well, one that we know of, Ashley Babbitt, the girl who got shot in the face by a cop. So where exactly is this far right-wing white supremacist extremism in New York? Where is it? I don't see it. I grew up 57 years in New York, and I don't see it. I don't see it. I do see people in confidence say, well, I don't really like blacks. Or I hear blacks say, well, those fucking white people, fucking fuck them. You hear that. That's not radicalization. That's an opinion. That's their opinion. And you radicalize them and keep them away from each other, and you fuel the fucking fire. Let them talk to each other. Let them get face to face and argue their nonsense. Because it all is nonsense. They all want the same thing. They just don't understand the other. Right? That's all it really is. Right? So let's continue.
I want us to think twice about our safety before we worship, before we get on a subway, before we go dancing with our friends. But we know here in New York.
Remember, she just said that the right wing is doing this in New York. The right wing is responsible for her, for New York's fucking violence. It's a ridiculous, bizarre position to have. It really is.
New York. It is this very diversity that has made us vulnerable to these attacks. But this is what has made us the most fascinating place on this planet. It's what separates us from the rest. It's more than something that just we celebrate. It defines us.
First of all, if you know your history of New York, Stonewall, the gay movement that occurred in the 60s, was gay people standing up for their own rights and saying enough of this already, enough of this, right? But I don't know what my point is. I'm talking too much.
And yet, these recent frightening attacks compromise that very sense of security that every single New Yorker is entitled to as a birthright. So it's not only the news-catching mass shootings, of which there were 600 nationwide already this year, involving guns, and we'll be talking about our efforts on guns in a...
So 600 mass shootings. Okay, well, let's hop on this one right here because it had to do with a gay bar.
Subsequent event, which is forthcoming, because we've done a lot on dealing with guns in our state. But it's also the individual physical assaults, the verbal harassment, and these are the hate crimes that seem to be ever escalating. So I want to be clear that many of these attacks start out as seeds of hatred planted on social media.
Boom, right there. Seeds planted on social media. Where are these seeds being planted? To help me understand where these seeds of radicalization are being planted on social media. You mean me responding to you? You started the argument, Hotchel. You're presenting your ideas to the masses. And then when the masses disagree with you, then they're radical. Right? Where can someone kindly point out the seeds of radicalization in social media? Where exactly is that happening? I fail to understand where it is.
We've seen it over and over and over again. And they're planted by people in positions of power and authority. And this extremism has real-life consequences because they perpetuate harmful stereotypes and they spew hateful rhetoric. And these words reverberate in social media chambers, and people latch on to this. They normalize perspectives that should be otherwise viewed as abhorrent and dangerous.
See, she's telling you what is abhorrent and dangerous. And essentially, that is defined as anything she disagrees with. If I disagree with your perspective, then you're a radical. And you have to be stopped. And I'm going to use my executive power to shut you up. Right? That's radicalization. That is where it fucking starts.
And as in the most tragic of circumstances, this hate leaves the virtual world, the social media world, and enters the real world. And that's when innocent people are harmed. It's not just anecdotal. Last year was the deadliest year on record for trans people.
Remember, she's blaming the far right of politics. People that don't even know what you're talking about. Nobody in this country identifies themselves as far right. I've heard people identify as far left. Oh, yeah, I'm a leftist. I'm a lefty. I never heard somebody say, yeah, I'm a righty. It's ridiculous.
The Human Rights Campaign reported 44 violent deaths of transgender and non-binary people. Also,
And we agree with that. We don't say that that's good or bad. But you have to look at all of the radicalizations and where is it coming from? It's coming from your unwillingness to let people be. Let people speak. Let people mingle in the public square, aka social media. Right? You go to, on social media, the channels are black and white. Right? Think about it. Right?
so the Anti-Defamation League counted 2,717 anti-Semitic incidents across the country last year. Not over.
The poor Jew. The poor Jew. Let's attack all the people that don't like Jews. Right? No, it's again. I'm not softening the blow, and I'm clearly not promoting any violence whatsoever. I'm clearly stating that when you vilify some and not the other, you throw gas on the fire. Please understand that, politicians. Please understand that. Stop doing it.
A decade over the last year. That's a 34% increase from the previous year, which had also been a high number. Highest number since they began tracking in 1979. And according to the ADL, there were over 600 incidents of domestic extremism in 2021, more than half of which were motivated by white supremacy. So I'm going to leave it to...
What? So there she goes, right?
Highest number since they began tracking in
Listen.
incidents across the country last year on record for trans people. The Human Rights Campaign reported 44 violent deaths of transgender and non-binary people.
Very bad.
Also, the Anti-Defamation League counted 2,717 anti-Semitic incidents across the country last year.
Okay.
Not over a decade, over the last year. That's a 34% increase from the previous year, which had also been a high number. Highest number since they began tracking in 1979. And according to the ADL, there were over 600 incidents of domestic extremism in 2021, more than half of which were motivated by white supremacy.
So more than half. Where are you getting that statistic? More than half are happening through. What about the other half, Hotchel? So if half of them, it's really revealing because she's saying that one half hates the other half. So because one half hates the other half, she fails to realize that the other half hates the half that hates them. You follow the thinking? She's, again, I can't emphasize it enough, but she's amplifying the radicalization by slicing and dicing people.
So I'm going to leave it to sociologists to figure out exactly when the filters came off and these forces of evil were unleashed. Whether it was the degradation of our political discourse that began in 2016.
Was it now I didn't say that. There is your Democratic leader saying it. That she's pointing to 2016, the breakdown of political discourse in our country. Let's listen to her say it again, because it's very, very accurate.
Last year, not over a decade, over the last year. That's a 34% increase from the previous year, which had also been a high number. Highest number since they began tracking in 1979. And according to the ADL, there were over 600 incidents of domestic extremism in 2021, more than half of which were motivated by white supremacy. So I'm going to leave it to sociologists to figure out exactly when the filters came off and these forces of evil were unleashed. Whether it was the degradation of our political discourse that began in 2016.
Bingo. Our political denigration. What do you mean? The denigration what? That the Democratic Party stole the election and admitted that that the elections are rigged, and they did it in front of the primaries are rigged, Democratic primaries? Is that what you're talking about? Why were they radicalized? What she's trying to say is oh no, because Trump won. No, Trump won because he's wildly popular, and they don't like you. They don't like your radical opinions. They're tired of your radical opinions being stuffed down their throat, and they all came together and coalesced around something other than you. And for whatever reason, it wound up being Trump. All of the people that you fucked over in 2016, all of those people that you disenfranchised went to Trump. They went in that direction, not because they like Trump, because they don't like you. They don't like what you did to them. Don't you understand that? You can't shut that. You can't make that go away. Just like when you bomb a foreign nation, when you drop bombs on the heads of fucking Iraq and kill their king, right, Hussein, and hang him in the public square, people will never, ever, ever forget what the Americans did to them. Never. You killed their grandmother. You killed their aunt. You dropped a fucking smart bomb and wiped out a school with their children. Right? That's the radicalization. That's radicalization. Right? It's the same.
Or was it the pressure cooker of the pandemic that has exploded, the lid blown off on what was normal acceptable behavior? But we can't ignore that there's been...
Yeah, what's normal behavior? Well, we're not going to talk about vaccines and Hochul's insistence that everybody get shots and shots and shots to prevent and make everybody safe. We're not going to talk about that, really, because that's again, her radicalization, her own view. And if you don't like it, fuck you, right? Because this is the way we're going, right? And if you don't go with us, then you're against us. Radical.
And a loss of civility and respect of individuals, and that has been the collateral damage. And these possible sources cannot be accepted as excuses, but here we are. We have the power as individuals, as a government, as society, to pull back and say no more. And never forget that this is our city, this is our state, and today we reclaim both.
So it's our city, our state, and all those white people who we deem radical, far-right extremists, they're not our city. So when you see them in our city, don't make them feel welcome. Attack them. Be aggressive against them. And at the lowest level, the dysfunctional black guy that gets out of jail, who just got sprung out of Rikers Island with no money, no clothes, nowhere to go. It's fucking 10 degrees out, and he's out. He's got nothing. And what does he do? He goes and he finds the soft target, some rich white guy standing on the corner, and he tries to steal from him. Or he targets an Asian woman and takes out his anger, steals a wallet, and pushes her in front of a fucking train. Right? That's the majority of what's happening. Right? You create the soft target. Those Asians, they brought us the Wuhan. Right? Put your fucking mask on. Right? That's not far right wing people doing that. That's the lowest denominator in a big city like New York. That's who's doing that.
Both. From the haters, the bigots, the white supremacists. It starts right here, right now.
Crazy.
Because New York belongs to the good, not those filled with hate in their hearts. We may not be able to stop them from themselves, but we can stop them from harming others. And that is our imperative. We must protect them.
It really is throwing gas on the fire. Her solution is we're going to prevent them. And you don't even know, who are they? Who the fuck are they? People like me who just, I don't know, I've been doing this a long time, and this is where I've come to be putting my finger on this type of discourse. I didn't choose to do this. This is just what became apparent to this reporter over time. Am I radicalizing people? Is this type of, you got to ask yourself, are you being radicalized right now by listening to Marcus Conte in the morning and his radical opinions of why the governor of New York is wrong and he's right? Or neither one of them are really right, but let's look at what the governor is saying and let's try to find the evidence that supports what she's saying. It's convoluted, you know what I mean? So, and again, happy Thanksgiving, everybody. I know this is not Thanksgiving talk, but it's fun, right? We're having a good time.
Diversity and protect individuals against acts of hate and bigotry. Because no Asian woman of any age coming home from work should ever worry about where she stands on a subway platform. No young Jewish boy should ever have to look over his shoulder as he's walking to a yeshiva.
All of those attacks were done by homeless black people on the subway. Radicalized fucking animals that coming out of the correctional facility that have hate in their fucking heart and no money in their pocket. That's where it's coming from. And then you're throwing gas on it by saying it's white supremacy. See, you were locked up for so long, you haven't been following CNN. CNN told you it's white supremacy. Get the whites, right? Get them.
No trans man or woman should ever have to fear for their safety or their life walking down their street or when they're in that safe space that they deserve. And no black...
Charles B. says she's batshit crazy. Or does she really believe it? That would be even scarier, right? Is she a sane person? A lot of these people are very sane. They're radicalized. They only see their own shit. They've lost the ability to understand and empathize with others that disagree with them, right? And they go further and further into power.
New Yorkers should ever fear going into a grocery store because of the color of their skin and becoming a target. No Latino man or woman should ever fear stepping foot inside a Walmart or a school, as happened in Texas.
No white man should end up at a hospital doing his job and hear two black security guards tell him to get his white privilege out of here. They never talk about that part of it. The victimized other people, the people that you're generating, that you're lining up against, right? The silent masses, right? You're vilifying them, continuing to, attacking them on social media, shutting down their opinions, and then the guns start going off, and then the fucking the real radicalization continues, and it gets worse and bigger and better.
So here's the question for all of us. What kind of New York do you want to be? How do we want to be known going forth this day forward? Today we're here to talk about what we're doing in state government to protect New Yorkers and go after individuals who want to do us harm. But in my opinion, this is also a call to New Yorkers. This is a call to all New Yorkers. Stand up and look out for each other. Stand up and look out for each other. You're seeing things, you're hearing things, you know things. Protect people even if they're in trouble.
They protect people even if they're in trouble. Now, we agree with that, but you got to realize where it's coming from. When a bunch of black people are fighting, that's okay. See, that's in the ghetto. They're beating the shit out of each other over who sells drugs on whose corner. But if there's a white guy there, then we can all agree that the white guy is the problem, because that's what the governor's saying. It's far right. You're far right, man. You don't understand us, man. You want to take away all our shit. And the white guy's standing there saying, "What are you talking about? I'm a reporter. I'm on food stamps just like you." You know, it's retarded.
Or a stranger, because here's the bottom line: this is somebody's mother. This is somebody's father. This is somebody that could be a member of your family, and wouldn't you want them to step up like the brave individual did at that nightclub, standing up and putting his life on the line? I'm not saying New Yorkers need to do that. But having that veteran step up and show us what raw, pure courage is all about is exhilarating in the knowledge that there are people out there like that.
And now what she's doing is saying, when you see somebody radicalized shooting a gun in a nightclub at 2 o'clock in the morning, drunk, you should get in front of the gun. You should throw your life into the front of the firing bullets to save others. I think that's what happened.
Circumstances they could never foresee in their wildest dream, stand up and do what's right. All of us have that capability in our hearts and in our souls. And I'm calling on all of us to draw upon that, to let people know there's more of us than there are of them. Far more of us than there are of them.
Us versus them.
This is our defining moment.
Woof, woof, woof. Us versus them. Woof, woof. Get them. Woof, woof. Us versus them. That's what the governor's saying.
New Yorkers, how we deal with the next day going forward. So this is emotional for all of us, for all the groups that represent the individuals in this room. And I thank all the representatives here from every community, communities that have been under attack for far too long. The Jewish community, the LGBTQ community, black and brown, the Asian AAPI communities. None of you deserve this. No one deserves this.
She's, again, the people, the group, the black and brown people are causing more than half of the fucking problem. Way more than half. But she treats them as victims, and everybody who disagrees with her is the cause of the problem. I mean, I keep pointing it out, but that's what's going on, really.
We all have a God-given right to walk the streets, go where we want to worship, be safe in our homes, our subways, and in our clubs. That is a God-given right as a New Yorker. And we're here to protect that. So here we're putting words into action. This hatred, this violence will not be tolerated, not now, not ever. 6 months ago, after the mass shooting in Buffalo, I issued an executive order dedicating an established unit, a domestic terrorism unit within our intelligence center focused on social media. And again, I talked about this, but...
And there it goes, right? Well, how are they going to solve the problem? They're going to target you on social media. Right? They target you on social... They, them. Who's they, them? Governor Hatchell, the person with power. Am I making that up? No. She's telling you what they're doing. She's telling you what they are doing. You don't agree with us. You're what we call far right. You're a white supremacist. You're an extremist. And you're the cause of all of the problems that we're seeing. And we're going to vilify you. And we're going to go after you. And we're going to radicalize our base against you. And we're going to win. We're going to win. Thank you, Governor Hatch.
Just to make sure we have the best in the nation law enforcement surveillance, monitoring websites and chat rooms. This is what law enforcement's doing. But ordinary New Yorkers around...
Monitoring fucking chat rooms. Are we being monitored? Are we being monitored? Question mark. Are we being monitored? They have to monitor us. Us. Them. You're monitoring us, them. Raise your hand in the chat. Let's go on the record. Let's go on the record. Okay? Here's a chat. Let's see how many people are watching. All right, we'll do a survey. Survey says 29 people are watching. Okay? Please. In the chat, are you a far right-wing radical? Do you think of yourself as a far right-wing radical? 1. That's 1. 2, do you consider yourself neutral? Or 3, far left? Far left. Okay? So what are you, man? All right? Stop watching and start participating in your own democracy. Are you a far right-wing extremist? Are you a far left extremist? Or are you neither? Number 2. Right? Tetragrammaton Ghost says he's a 2. I'm a 2. I'm gonna vote. I'm a 2. Right? So there we go. So I don't see anybody putting in 1. Right? Right? Weevil Girl 3, further from Dems. Okay. Fair enough. We got a 3 in there. But everybody seems to be consistently a 2. Look at that. Look at that. No, there's no 1s here. Nobody's a 1. And don't do it to pacify me. Just be honest. There's nobody here that deserves to be shut down. Nobody. Nobody is a right wing fucking supremacist. But these people, them, her, right there, not them, mystically, magically, hypothetically, them. You know, when people say, "Oh, they're out to get us," they're out to get us, right? And who are they? Right? It's people like her, in power. That's who they are at this moment. Right? She's creating this particular problem.
Out there seeing the same thing. I want them to be part of our team.
Them, us versus them.
I want others to come with that early warning system when they see this or they hear someone in their school saying something. This is what red flag laws are also all about.
She wants you to snitch on people that are not like them. That's what she's asking you to do. She's radicalizing the base to go after and vilify and be probably violent to. Go stand in front of their house. What about the crew that showed up at Brett Kavanaugh's house, the Supreme Court justice, and wanted to kill him? Right? What about that? Oh, yeah. Somebody took a hammer to Pelosi's husband's head. Right? Both are bad. Both are bad, but she only talks about one of them, right? They tried to kill the Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh. Somebody went to his house trying to kill him for their radical opinions. Far left extremist. Never talks about it. Won't mention it. No, we don't talk about that. No. That's us. That's us, not them.
We've talked about this for months. We beefed them up. We made sure that people who hear something can take action. I'd much rather be in the business of preventing crimes and preventing acts of hatred than trying to solve them afterward and dealing with people harmed or lives lost. I want to be in the prevention business. We've seen the...
You know, again, the prevention business is very, very simple. Stop silencing people and let them talk. Let them be, and you'll solve the problem. Every time you get in the way of it, if you really, really care, every time you get in the way with in the middle of it and start slicing people into left and right for your own political gain, you are radicalizing people, and the violence will only escalate. You have to. It stops with you. It stops with me.
The results of this work, as I mentioned, what happened at Penn Station, again, my gratitude goes out to our law enforcement, the vigilant people who work hard for us every day. Commend the state police, the MTA. But I'm here to say one thing. Domestic violent extremism is the greatest threat to our homeland security.
So all that terrorism, domestic terrorism that the government built up against the Muslims, 20 years ago. Oh, everybody with a Muslim name or looked Muslim or had a towel on their head was suddenly guilty of domestic terrorism, right? But now it's people online chatting. That's where they're aiming. People online. Am I making this up? They're doing it in the public discourse. They're preventing people from communicating to each other, further slicing them, right? That's what's happening.
I don't know if it's been said that bluntly before, so I'm going to say it again. Domestic violent extremism is the greatest threat to homeland security because it eats away at who we are. It normalizes behavior that's unacceptable. And this is when we say no more. So terrorism, local terrorism, and these are acts of terrorism, acts of hate crimes on our streets, prevention is our highest priority. Last month, we announced $9 million in Homeland Security grants for bomb squads, tactical teams, infrastructure protection, local government, cybersecurity, and more, and we're going to continue. We directed $10 million in state grants to support county governments. Again, I came out of local government. I know the limitations on local government. I can talk about how great the state is doing, but the localities don't have the training, the experience, the resources, and we're counting on them as being partners with all of us, so we're going to be helping them even more, helping local governments develop domestic terrorism prevention plans. Again, domestic terrorism is not always the mass casualty occurrence. It's not that. What we're witnessing every day is an insidious form of domestic terrorism when people are being assaulted or physically abused or verbally abused because of their identity. That
All right, we agree with that. There's no disagreement there that people are being attacked because of their identity. That's not. Nobody's disagreeing with that. We're going one step further. Who's causing it to happen? How do we stop it from happening? That's what we're trying to get to.
That's what I'm talking about here. We also launched the first state-based domestic terrorism prevention unit in our Homeland Security Division because we're going to continue responding to these events. I directed all counties, I mentioned the counties. All counties now have to submit a domestic terrorism prevention plan to our Department of Homeland Security's by next month.
So there you go. Now they got a policy. Let's listen to the policy again.
In our Homeland Security Division because we're going to continue responding to these events. I directed all counties, I mentioned the counties. All counties now have to submit a domestic terrorism prevention plan to our
All counties in New York must provide a domestic terrorism prevention plan. Right? And what is that plan?
Department of Homeland Security's by next month. And we're not just leaving them on their own, we're helping them. We're helping them understand what this is all about. Last Sunday, I asked Superintendent Steve Nigrelli to ramp up our surveillance for communities that are potential targets of crimes. And our counterintelligence unit is conducting outreach to LGBTQ communities in particular all across New York, as well as synagogues, other Jewish community spaces. And the work doesn't stop there. So today, I'm pleased to announce I'm signing 2 pieces of legislation. I thank our leadership in the Assembly, Carl Heastie. I thank Majority Leader Andre Stewart Cousins and their conferences for the work that they've done. And you'll be hearing from Senator Anna Kaplan, but 2 pieces of legislation that build on our hate crime prevention and education efforts. The first bill requires individuals convicted of hate crimes to undergo mandatory training in hate crime prevention. That was sponsored by Senator Toby Stavisky and Assembly Member Rebecca Seawright. And what this was before, it was optional. Optional. The operative word now is mandatory. No discretion. This training will occur.
So they're going to train you. You heard? As part of this domestic terrorism crackdown, they're going to find you and they're going to retrain you to not be radicalized, to agree more with what they agree with, right? Critical race theory, right? All people are equal in the eyes of God, and you're a fucking radical because you can't see it, right? And therefore, you better succumb or else, right? They're going to have like think tanks. They're going to have like not prisons, but institutions for people to become de-radicalized. Right? De-radicalization is what we're talking about.
The second bill establishes a statewide campaign around inclusion, tolerance, and understanding of diversity. Senator Kaplan will be speaking about this. Member Assembly Chuck Levine.
Nobody, Governor, is discounting inclusion. All people want to be included. When you fail to listen to what they're saying, you're unincluding them. You're excluding them. Right? You exclude them, and then you create the radical.
And both bills promote educational awareness, which is key. I do believe we talk about this, whether it's the Holocaust education, we want to make sure that people understand that diversity is something uniquely special. It has to be protected. And we all have a responsibility to make sure that those who may be influenced by these forces out there have the knowledge and the understandings.
There was not a single soul on January 6th. The invasion, the rally in Washington, that declared themselves a white supremacist. There's nobody that was there to fight against blacks. They were there to voice their opinion about election fraud in this country. Does it exist? Doesn't it exist? That's all they wanted to know. And nobody was listening to them. So they showed up. That has nothing to do with race. That has nothing to do with gender. None of it. Right? It has to do with that, the flag flying behind her. What is America? Right? That's what it has to do with.
The educational means to understand that this is a path they should not go on. This is what we're trying to do, capture the hearts and minds before people are radicalized on social media and go down a different path. This is how we can work together.
So she's going to determine, she's determining who is radicalized. Let's do another survey. Let's see if we're radicalized. 1, I am radicalized. 2, I am not radicalized. Okay, so go ahead. Go ahead. Are you radical? Are you a radicalized person or not? Because you can't be neither. You can't be, there's no in between here. You are either radicalized or you're not. Right? So I would say, am I radicalized? No, I'm not radicalized. I never have been. And I never will be, right? You see, people are awake, right? There's Cinny Minnie, he's a 2. Ruby Jules is a 2. What's up, Ruby? How you doing, man? Chris Milk is a 2. Tetra Gamma Ghost, 2. Jim Gerard is a 2. Weevil Girl's a 2. Nobody here, CJ is a 2. Nobody sees themselves as radical, right? But some jerk off that scans through social media at the direction of people like Governor Hochul are telling you that you are radicalized, that you can't see it. And you need treatment, and you need to be de-radicalized. That's what she's telling you, right? Where there is no radicalization, she says, oh yeah, it is, because you don't agree with us.
Together to keep our community safe from hate and violence. And again, I want to thank our partners from the legislature for their work on this effort, and we have much more work to do in the next session. I'm also pleased to announce that we'll be convening regional listening sessions led by senior members of my administration. We want to hear from all the communities.
Yeah. You want to hear from all the communities? That's easy. Stop censoring people and you'll hear it. Stop censoring at people. Nobody wants to show up at your stupid press conference and then they get up to the mic and then you shut the mic off on them while they're in mid-sentence and you treat them like they're fucking outlaws. And look at us, we're the authority. We're listening, but you don't know how to shut the fuck up and listen, right? And it gets into this political discourse dialogue in a fucking boardroom somewhere. Let people speak openly. This is the place to do it. This is the public square.
We don't pretend to have all the answers. We don't. All the organizations represented here today and others across the state have issues that we need to address specific to their communities. So this will be the first ever Unity Summit, first started in New York City. We'll bring together community, government stakeholders from around the state to affirm our stand against hate, violent extremism, and discrimination. We'll have everybody, government officials, advocates, community leaders, religious leaders,
All right.
To help share practices. Because I want this to be a national model.
Yeah.
Why not New York?
Yeah. Go ahead. Radicalize New York and let it spread all the way to the other coast.
Why shouldn't we be the place that teaches the rest of the nation how you can do things differently? How you don't have to be passive. You don't have to be victims. This is how we're standing up and taking control of our destiny.
Okay, she's taking control of our destiny. All right, we're way over, man. But thank you very much for joining me. That was so. I hope that was helpful. I mean, I thought it was. When I watched it, you know where I heard that? I was sitting. I think I heard it on the radio. I was driving, and I heard her say that. And then I went back this morning and I found the speech on YouTube where she was talking about it. But that's the part of it I heard, that she was going to create places to de-radicalize people. And we're going to go, it's everything she said points to social media. That's where they're going to go after you. Go after us. Go after anybody. Anybody who disagrees with them, man. It does seem like we're in the 60s one more time. Maybe maybe this is the straw that broke the camel's back. Right? Oh, and by the way, happy Thanksgiving.